Welcome back to our channel. This coins could be worth thousands. Here's what you need to know. In 1974, the United States minted a $2 coin that would eventually become a key player in numismatic history. To understand how this seemingly ordinary coin turned into a collector's dream, we must first take a look back at the era in which it was produced. The United States in the early 70s was a country at a crossroads. Politically, the Watergate scandal was unfolding, shaking the very foundation of the American government. Economically, inflation was high, and the country was beginning to feel the strain of a shifting global landscape. But amid these turbulent times, the U.S. Mint was still working away, producing coins that would circulate in daily commerce, little knowing that some would become highly sought after by collectors decades later. The 1974 quarter was no different in appearance than the quarters that came before it. At a glance, it seemed like just another coin that would be used in the vending machines, the jukeboxes, or the payphones of the time. But as we dive deeper into the intricacies of this quarter, we find a fascinating story that reveals just how special this coin really is. The design of the 1974 quarter was largely unchanged from the previous years. Featuring a portrait of George Washington on the obverse, the quarter paid tribute to the first president of the United States. The reverse showed an eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows and an olive branch. These elements had been a part of the quarter's design for decades, dating back to 1932, when the design was introduced to commemorate Washington's 200th birthday. It was a design that remained iconic throughout the years, evoking the ideals of American strength, peace, and unity. However, despite its relatively standard design, there was something unique about the 1974 quarter that would set it apart from its predecessors. As with many coins, a small number of them were struck with subtle imperfections, errors that went unnoticed during production. It wasn't uncommon for a coin to slip through the cracks of quality control, but in the case of the 1974 quarter, these imperfections would become the key to its future allure among collectors. One of the most famous errors that occurred during the minting of the 1974 quarter was the production of certain quarters that were struck with the wrong planchet. Normally, quarters are made from a mixture of copper and nickel, but a few were accidentally struck using the wrong type of metal, which resulted in an odd-looking coin with distinct characteristics. These error coins, though rare, piqued the interest of collectors. They were the beginning of the quarter's journey into numismatic history. However, it wasn't just the errors that would make this coin significant. The 1974 quarter, much like many other coins from this era, was produced in massive quantities. In fact, the U.S. Mint produced over 800 million quarters in 1974. The sheer volume of coins made would typically diminish the value of any single coin, but the allure of the 1974 quarter lies in the rarity of certain specimens, which were either struck with imperfections or produced under unusual circumstances. As the years went on, coin collectors, or numismatists, began to pay more attention to the details of the 1974 quarter. They sought out the rare errors, the unusual strikes, and the variations that separated certain 1974 quarters from the rest. Some of these quarters were found to have been struck with a double die, meaning that the design was stamped twice, creating a faint but noticeable overlap. Others had been subjected to wear and tear that made them appear to have a unique appearance, and still, others had a strange mix of imperfections, making them more valuable in the eyes of collectors. But it wasn't until the 1990s, when coin collectors and enthusiasts began to establish more advanced methods for identifying rare and valuable coins, that the full extent of the 1974 quarter's value came to light. Auction houses and private dealers began to recognize the rarity of these unique quarters, and as a result, prices began to climb. The most famous of these coins, of course, would be those rare 1974 quarters that were struck on incorrect planchets or those that displayed noticeable die errors. These error coins attracted the attention of collectors who were willing to pay a premium for these unusual pieces. A pristine 1974 quarter, particularly one that displayed an obvious error, became a hot commodity, commanding higher and higher prices with each passing year. But while error coins were certainly a big part of the story, there's more to the tale of the 1974 quarter than just imperfections. The 1974 quarter also benefits from the sheer popularity of Washington's image, which remains one of the most iconic and instantly recognizable symbols of American currency. The fact that the 1974 quarter featured a portrait of Washington, with his dignified, timeless expression, only added to the appeal of the coin, making it highly collectible for those who sought out coins that paid tribute to the founding fathers. The appeal of the 1974 quarter didn't stop with collectors alone. Investors in precious metals began to take notice of the potential for certain coins, including the 1974 quarter, to appreciate in value over time. As interest in coin collecting grew, so did the understanding that certain coins, whether through error or limited mintage, could represent a solid investment opportunity. Some collectors, seeing the rising value of the 1974 quarter, chose to hold on to their specimens, hoping that in the future, they would be able to cash in on their rare find, and that's exactly what happened. As the years rolled by, the demand for rare coins continued to increase, and collectors became more savvy about identifying the ones that held the most value. In fact, today, a particularly well-preserved and rare 1974 quarter can fetch an impressive amount of money at auction. The most valuable specimens, those rare error coins and coins with significant die flaws, have been known to sell for thousands of dollars, with some reaching values that defy the expectations of even the most seasoned collectors. Now, we've come to the big reveal. If you've been wondering just how much a rare 1974 quarter can be worth, brace yourself. The value of a 1974 quarter can vary significantly depending on its condition and whether it possesses any rare errors. In some cases, a quarter in near-perfect condition with a notable minting error can fetch up to an astonishing $148,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $148,000. That's the kind of figure that most coin collectors only dream about, and yet, it's a reality for those who have come across the rarest of the rare 1974 quarters. In conclusion, the 1974 quarter is more than just a piece of currency from a bygone era. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of numismatics, where even the most seemingly ordinary coins can hold incredible value. From its historical context, its design, and the unique minting circumstances that created error coins, to its lasting appeal among collectors, the 1974 quarter is a perfect example of how rare coins can become not only valuable assets but also captivating pieces of history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual enthusiast, the story of the 1974 quarter reminds us all that sometimes, the most unexpected treasures lie just beneath the surface. In 1998, the United States Mint released a $quarter coin that would eventually become one of the most talked about in the history of American numismatics. At first glance, the 1998 quarter appeared to be just another coin in the long line of quarters that had circulated through the country. Little did anyone know, this coin would go on to garner incredible attention from collectors, reaching astonishing values in the years to come. To understand why the 1998 quarter is so significant, we have to look at both the historical context of its release and the design choices that would shape its future. The late 1990s was a time of rapid change in the United States. The country was in the midst of the dot-com boom, with the rise of the internet revolutionizing the way people lived, worked, and communicated. Politically, the country was facing its own set of challenges, including the impeachment of President Bill Clinton in 1998. Economically, however, things were looking up. The U.S. was enjoying a period of prosperity, marked by low unemployment rates and a thriving stock market. It was against this backdrop that the 1998 quarter was minted. The quarter that year was part of a larger initiative by the U.S. Mint to redesign the coin for the new millennium. This was not the first time that the U.S. Mint had decided to change the look of the quarter. In fact, the last major redesign had taken place in 1932, when the Washington quarter was introduced to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. Since then, the design had remained virtually unchanged, featuring the famous portrait of Washington on the obverse and a simple eagle on the reverse. But by the late 1990s, there was a desire to introduce new designs to reflect the changing times. In 1998, the U.S. Mint began to release a series of state quarters, each featuring a design unique to one of the 50 states. This marked a significant departure from the classic design that had been in place for over 60 years. The state quarter program was launched with the release of the 1999 Delaware quarter, but the 1998 quarters played an important role in this transition. The 1998 quarter was produced with the same design as previous years, featuring Washington's image on the front and the eagle on the reverse. However, the real story behind the 1998 quarter lies in its role as the final coin in the series before the state quarter program began. For collectors, this marked the end of an era, as the Washington quarter design would soon give way to a new set of coins celebrating the individual states. As a result, the 1998 quarter is considered by many to be a transitional piece, representing the last of the old guard before the exciting new changes arrived. Despite its initial role as just another coin in circulation, the 1998 quarter has gained significant attention in the years since its release. A closer look reveals that, like many coins, some 1998 quarters possess unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest. These variations, including minting errors and slight design differences, have made certain 1998 quarters highly desirable to collectors. It's not unusual for a collector to come across a coin from this year that shows distinct features, such as double dies or off-center strikes, which make it far rarer and more valuable than the typical quarter. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1998 quarter is its connection to the broader shift in American coinage. The state quarter program, which began in 1999, would go on to capture the imagination of the American public, as each new state design offered a glimpse into the history, culture, and identity of that state. The 1998 quarter, while part of the old system, was the last coin in the traditional series before this exciting new chapter began. This makes the 1998 quarter a kind of historical artifact, a symbol of the change that was coming to the world of American coins. For collectors, this sense of historical significance is a big part of what makes the 1998 quarter so appealing. As time has gone on, the value of the 1998 quarter has steadily increased, as collectors continue to seek out coins that represent a key moment in the history of U.S. currency. But it's not just the historical aspect that makes the 1998 quarter so valuable. Some of these coins, particularly those with rare errors or unique characteristics, have become highly sought after by investors and numismatists alike. There are a few particular varieties of the 1998 quarter that are particularly valuable. For example, some collectors have discovered quarters that were struck with a double die, a minting error where the design is stamped twice on the coin, causing a noticeable overlap in the image. These types of errors can make a coin far more valuable than one that was struck correctly. Other variations include coins that were struck on incorrect planchets, meaning the metal used to make the coin was different from the usual copper-nickel blend used for quarters. As more and more collectors began to recognize the value of these rare 1998 quarters, the demand for them grew. Coins that were once worth only $0.25 began to appreciate in value, with some even reaching prices that were many times their face value. Over time, auction houses and private dealers began to take notice, and certain 1998 quarters, particularly those with rare errors or unusual characteristics, began to command prices in the thousands of dollars. In the world of numismatics, the value of a coin is determined by several factors, including rarity, demand, condition, and any unique features it may possess. The 1998 quarter, with its historical significance and potential for rare errors, ticks all of these boxes. As a result, it has become one of the more valuable quarters in modern American coinage, and collectors are constantly on the lookout for any examples that might be particularly rare or in excellent condition. So, what exactly is a 1998 quarter worth today? It's important to note that not all 1998 quarters are created equal. Most of the coins from this year are still worth just 25 cents in their regular form, and while they hold historical significance, they won't fetch much more than their face value unless they exhibit rare characteristics or minting errors. However, certain 1998 quarters, particularly those with significant flaws, have become incredibly valuable. The most notable of these is a 1998 quarter that was discovered to have been struck with an off-center design, making it an extremely rare specimen. These rare 1998 quarters, with their unique errors and design flaws, have fetched impressive sums at auction. The most valuable examples of this coin can reach up to a staggering $134,000. Yes, you read that right, $134,000. That's the kind of price that turns heads in the numismatic world, and it's a reminder of just how valuable a seemingly ordinary coin can become over time. In conclusion, the 1998 quarter is a fascinating piece of American history, both in terms of its design and its place in the larger context of U.S. coinage. While it may have started out as a standard coin circulating in daily commerce, the 1998 quarter's historical significance and the presence of rare minting errors have transformed it into a highly coveted collector's item. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, the 1998 quarter serves as a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. And with a potential value of $134,000 for the rarest specimens, the 1998 quarter has proven that it's far more than just pocket change. In 2004, the United States Mint released a coin that would become one of the most sought-after pieces in the history of American numismatics. The Florida 1845 quarter, as part of the 50-state quarters program, captured the essence of one of the most historic states in the Union. The quarter, however, was not just any coin, it was a part of a larger vision to honor each state's unique history and contributions to the nation. But to understand why this particular coin is so valuable, we must first explore its design, its history, and what makes it stand out among the thousands of other state quarters minted during that period. The 50-state quarters program was one of the most ambitious and popular coin series ever undertaken by the U.S. Mint. It was launched in 1999 and aimed to release a new quarter each year, each one representing a different state in the Union. The program was an instant success, and by the time Florida's turn came up in 2004, the State Quarter Initiative was already one of the most exciting coin programs ever seen. Florida, known for its sunshine, beautiful beaches, and rich cultural history, was the 27th state to be honored in the program. Florida became a state on March 3, 1845, and this date would be etched into the design of the 2004 quarter. The inclusion of this historical milestone was more than just a number, it marked a turning point for Florida and the United States as a whole. In the years following Florida's admission to the Union, the state would grow into one of the nation's largest, with its economy being fueled by agriculture, tourism, and a rapidly growing population. But in 2004, when the Florida Quarter was issued, it was a moment of reflection on how far the state had come since its admission nearly 160 years earlier. The design of the Florida 1845 quarter would play a significant role in its appeal. For the quarter, the U.S. Mint chose a design that would feature a unique combination of elements representing Florida's heritage. The reverse side of the coin shows a stylized image of a Spanish galleon sailing on the ocean with a backdrop of a sunrise. This design was chosen to represent Florida's long and storied connection to Spanish exploration, which began with Ponce de Leon's arrival in 1513. Long before it became a state, the rising sun symbolizes a new day for Florida as it moved into statehood, while the galleon represents the state's early history and the maritime influence that would shape much of its development. Above the image of the galleon is the inscription, Florida 1845, marking both the state's admission to the Union and the year in which it officially became part of the United States. At first glance, the Florida 1845 quarter may seem like just another addition to the popular 50-state quarters collection. However, its distinctive design and its representation of Florida's history make it stand out in many ways. In fact, the design choices are symbolic of not only Florida's past but also the nation's growing recognition of the state as a crucial part of its future. Yet, despite its historical importance and unique design, the true value of the Florida 1845 quarter lies in the rarity and condition of the specific coins that collectors seek. Like other coins in the 50-state quarter series, most of the Florida quarters were mass-produced, and as such, they were initially worth only 25 cents in face value. However, certain versions of this coin, particularly those that were struck with minting errors, unusual wear patterns, or unique characteristics, would soon attract the attention of collectors around the world. One of the key elements that make certain Florida 1845 quarters so desirable is the presence of minting errors. As with any large-scale coin production, mistakes can occur, and in the case of the Florida 1845 quarter, some errors slipped through the cracks. The most common errors include double dies, where the coin's design is stamped twice, creating a distorted image, or off-center strikes, where the image is improperly aligned on the coin. These errors make a coin far rarer and more valuable because they are anomalies, mistakes that make them unique. Some collectors also seek out quarters that have been graded in pristine condition, with no signs of wear or scratches. These high-quality coins, graded as proof or mint state, can command higher prices on the market. As demand for high-quality Florida 1845 quarters grew, so did the prices for these coins. The rise in popularity of the 50-state quarters program also contributed to the increasing value of coins like the Florida 1845 quarter. People were eager to collect the entire series, and many of them sought out rare or unusual versions of each state's quarter. This created an environment where specific quarters, such as the Florida coin, could fetch far more than their face value. As the years passed, the value of the Florida 1845 quarter began to appreciate steadily. However, the real turning point for the Florida 1845 quarter came when more advanced methods for identifying and grading coins were developed. As collectors became more experienced and knowledgeable, they began to pay closer attention to the subtleties that could make one Florida quarter more valuable than another. Coins that were once overlooked began to be recognized for their rarity, and as a result, the value of the Florida 1845 quarter began to soar. One of the key factors that determine the value of a coin like the Florida 1845 quarter is its scarcity. The Florida state quarter, like many other state quarters, was produced in large quantities. Millions of coins were minted in 2004. However, only a small percentage of those coins were struck with errors or possessed the unique characteristics that collectors were looking for. The rarer the coin, the more valuable it becomes, and this is particularly true for the Florida 1845 quarter. Coins that feature significant minting errors, such as double dies or off-center strikes, are the most valuable examples. These coins, with their distinctive flaws, stand out from the rest and are highly coveted by collectors. The value of these coins has been driven up by the increasing demand for them, with some quarters fetching prices that far exceed their original face value. Now, you may be wondering, just how much can a rare Florida 1845 quarter be worth? After years of growing interest in the coin and its unique characteristics, the value of the Florida 1845 quarter has reached impressive heights. While most Florida 1845 quarters are worth their face value of 25 cents, the rarest examples can sell for a staggering $122,000. That's right, $122,000. For a coin that was once worth only a quarter, this is an astonishing amount of money. It serves as a reminder of just how much value a seemingly simple coin can have when it is struck with rare characteristics or is in excellent condition. The Florida 1845 quarter has become one of the most valuable coins in the 50-state quarter series, and its value continues to climb as more collectors recognize its significance and rarity. In conclusion, the Florida 1845 quarter is more than just a piece of currency, it's a reflection of Florida's history and its place in the larger story of the United States. From its stunning design, which features the Spanish galleon and rising sun, to its status as the 27th coin in the 50-state quarters program, the Florida 1845 quarter holds a special place in the hearts of coin collectors. Whether it's the result of a minting error or simply a well-preserved specimen, this coin has captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike. And with a current value of $122,000 for the rarest specimens, the Florida 1845 quarter proves that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. In 2016, the United States Mint released a $2 coin that would become a symbol of American history, celebrating one of the nation's most iconic fortifications. This coin, part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, honored Fort Moultrie, a historic site in South Carolina that has played a significant role in the early defense of the United States. While it began as just another coin in circulation, over time, the Fort Moultrie quarter would grow in both historical significance and value. To fully appreciate why this coin has captured the attention of collectors and investors, we need to take a closer look at its historical background, the design choices that made it unique, and the fascinating way in which it became a sought-after collector's item. The year 2016 marked the 7th year of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which was launched by the U.S. Mint in 2010. This program aimed to honor the most iconic national parks and historic sites across the United States, and Fort Moultrie was chosen to represent South Carolina. The Fort Moultrie coin was part of a broader series designed to showcase the country's rich cultural and natural heritage, each quarter highlighting a different significant location from around the nation. The Fort Moultrie quarter was the 32nd coin in this series, and it would stand out not only for its design but also for its deep historical connections. Fort Moultrie, located on Sullivan's Island near Charleston, South Carolina, has a history that dates back to the American Revolution. Originally constructed in 1776, it was named after Colonel William Moultrie, who led South Carolina troops in the defense of the fort during the Battle of Sullivan's Island. The battle was a significant victory for the American forces, as they successfully repelled the British Navy from entering Charleston Harbor. This victory played a crucial role in the eventual success of the American Revolution, and the fort's legacy continued as it was used in subsequent wars, including the War of 1812 and the Civil War. By the time the 2016 quarter was minted, Fort Moultrie had been preserved as part of the national park system. It stood as a reminder of the sacrifices made by early American soldiers and the fort's vital role in the defense of the fledgling United States. The Fort Moultrie quarter sought to honor this legacy by featuring a design that encapsulated both the fort's historical significance and its connection to South Carolina's rich heritage. The coin's design features a striking image of Fort Moultrie, with its distinctive walls and lookout towers. The fort's iconic structure is depicted in the background, with a cannon positioned in the foreground, symbolizing the fort's defensive role during the Revolutionary War. In the sky above, the sun shines brightly, casting a warm glow over the scene. The design also includes the words Fort Moultrie and South Carolina, with the date 2016 and the inscription E Pluribus Unum encircling the image. The overall composition of the design conveys a sense of strength and resilience, embodying the spirit of the fort and its role in shaping American history. This design was chosen to reflect Fort Moultrie's importance not just as a physical structure, but as a symbol of the enduring American spirit. By highlighting the fort's strategic location, historical role, and connection to the broader narrative of American independence, the coin brought attention to a pivotal chapter in the nation's past. As part of the America the Beautiful series, the Fort Moultrie quarter was one of many that celebrated the cultural and historical diversity of the United States, but it was unique in its emphasis on a location that had directly contributed to the birth of the nation. The U.S. Mint produced the Fort Moultrie quarter in large quantities, just as it had with other coins in the America the Beautiful series. It was released in 2016, along with several other quarters celebrating various national parks and historic sites. The coin entered circulation in the usual way, alongside other U.S. quarters, but collectors immediately began to take notice of its unique design and historical significance. For numismatists, the America the Beautiful quarters program had become an exciting opportunity to collect coins that represented some of the most iconic locations in American history. As collectors sought to complete their collections, the demand for the Fort Moultrie quarter grew steadily. In addition to the regular minting, the U.S. Mint also produced proof versions of the Fort Moultrie quarter, which were sold to collectors in specially packaged sets. These proof coins were struck with a higher level of detail and were created to meet the demands of collectors who valued coins in pristine condition. The proof coins were often sold at a premium over the face value, and many collectors were eager to acquire them as part of their collections. These proof versions became highly sought after, especially those that were well preserved and remained in near-perfect condition, but it wasn't just the design or the proof versions that made the Fort Moultrie quarter stand out. As with many coins, there were a few that were struck with minting errors, which would later become the most valuable examples of this coin. Errors in minting occur when there is a mistake in the striking process, resulting in coins that differ from the intended design. These errors can range from minor flaws to significant misprints, and they can increase the value of a coin exponentially. Some of the most notable errors found in the Fort Moultrie quarter include misaligned dies, where the design is off-center, and coins with double dies, where the design appears to be struck twice. These variations make the coins much rarer, and they are highly prized by collectors who are always on the lookout for unique specimens. A coin with a noticeable minting error, particularly one that is in excellent condition, can command a much higher price than a standard, error-free example. Over the years, the value of the Fort Moultrie quarter continued to rise, especially for those coins that exhibited rare minting errors or were in particularly pristine condition. As the America the Beautiful quarters program gained more attention from collectors and investors alike, the demand for these coins grew, and many began to see them as a potential investment. For those who had the foresight to purchase these coins early on, their value would steadily increase as time went on. In the world of numismatics, coins like the Fort Moultrie quarter are valued not just for their historical significance, but also for their rarity and condition. A well-preserved coin with a rare minting error can fetch an impressive price on the market. In fact, the Fort Moultrie quarter has been known to sell for as much as $108,000 for a particularly rare specimen with significant minting errors or exceptional preservation. This figure is astonishing for a coin that was initially worth only 25 cents, but it underscores the unpredictable nature of the coin market and the growing interest in rare and historically significant pieces of currency. So, what makes a Fort Moultrie quarter worth $108,000? There are a few key factors that contribute to this impressive value. First and foremost, the rarity of the coin is a critical element. Only a small number of Fort Moultrie quarters, particularly those with minting errors or in pristine condition, are available to collectors. This scarcity drives up demand, and as more collectors seek out these rare coins, their prices continue to rise. Additionally, the historical significance of the Fort Moultrie quarter cannot be overstated. The fort's role in the American Revolution, its connection to the founding of the United States, and its representation of South Carolina's rich heritage all contribute to the coin's appeal. For collectors and investors who value coins with a deep historical connection, the Fort Moultrie quarter is a prized piece of American history. In conclusion, the Fort Moultrie 2016 quarter is a coin that represents far more than just a unit of currency. It is a symbol of the United States' early defense and a tribute to the bravery and resilience of the soldiers who fought to protect the young nation. Through its design, its historical context, and its role in the America the Beautiful Quarters program, the Fort Moultrie quarter has become a valuable piece of American numismatic history. And with a current value of $108,000 for its rarest specimens, this coin serves as a reminder that the value of a seemingly ordinary quarter can grow exponentially over time, making it an extraordinary investment for collectors and enthusiasts alike.